I planned on making this video a couple days ago, but decided to wait it out to see what happened. Anyway, if you don't know by now, the popular summer video game event, E3, has officially been cancelled, after it was supposed to make a glorious comeback this year. But if you happen to follow along recently, you'd probably see that some of the signs of it being cancelled were there. Not only was it Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft pulling out, but that was only the start. A few days ago, Sega and Tencent also pulled out, and even Ubisoft decided to do their own event. Those are some huge names to be pulling out of what's supposed to be a huge event. I mean, what would they do, an E3 with just EA? Jokes aside, it's only confirmed that E3 2023 will be cancelled, but this probably spells the end of E3 for good. After the pandemic happened and E3 was cancelled last year to stop the spread of COVID, it seems like it was hard for them to bounce back for the event. I know I'm saying this with 2020 hindsight, but it was only a matter of time until it happened. Take Regal Cinemas for an example. Now, I'm not sure how many of you may know about Regal, but it was a fairly popular theater chain, and I happened to have one in the mall closest to me. So in the midst of the pandemic, Regal closed down due to COVID restrictions. But about a year ago, they reopened some locations, but unfortunately they couldn't keep up and had to close them down again due to bankruptcy. I think a similar thing is happening with E3 now. A fairly successful thing being shut down, and when it tries to bounce back, it just can't. Thinking about it though, it shouldn't come too much as a surprise. During the years E3 was cancelled, developers hosted their own events to announce game to players. I mean, they're mostly doing that anyway, but with E3 being cancelled, there's no need to time announcements around June when E3 would happen anyway. Much like when Regal closed down locations, people probably found alternatives and figured there was no point in going back. Whether that means choosing to go to new theaters or streaming movies now. Especially since they're now available around the same time they're in theaters. And even though E3 was only announced as being cancelled this year, well, and the last few years too, this probably means that there won't be an E3 2024 or beyond. While I do remember enjoying some fond moments from E3 with all the game reveals, and we'll sort of miss the spectacle of it all, but E3 being cancelled for the few years during the pandemic just shows that there are alternatives to getting gaming news. Just like there are other alternatives to seeing films other than Regal. And if said thing becomes unavailable through one way, people will find other ways other than the normal medium to access said thing. Anyway, I just want to give some of my thoughts on that and say goodbye to E3 since there's little chance it'll ever come back. Or if it does, it'll be in another form or probably changed up a lot. But I guess we'll have to see. That's all for this video, thanks for watching and I'll see you later.